Hi again, everyone. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about genre. And genre sounds similar to a word you might know, which is generic, but they're very different. So we're going to go through the difference between something specific versus something basic. Again, these notes are available in your course site. So something generic, obviously, is something non-specific. It doesn't identify a brand, a specific style. It doesn't really give you much to work with. Just like the picture that says cola over there doesn't tell you a whole lot about what you have aside from its cola. So on the opposite, genre is specific. So it tells an audience a very specific style. It tells them a specific brand or a specific type. So, for example, if I was scrolling through Netflix, I might see different movie genres from rom-com to action-adventure to documentary film or animation. Those would be some of the film genres that I would be able to select from. Literary genres can include many things like romance, mystery, biography, autobiography, fiction, nonfiction. There's a whole list of literary genres that you can talk, and even within those categories, there are subcategories of genres as well. If I was surfing a channel on my radio, then I may have a genre-specific station that would be something like soft rock versus classic rock, or rap, or soul, or EDM, or country. Those are musical genres. So they tell the audience something very specific about what they're about to get. So purpose and genre have a very unique connection in that purpose is the reason why you are writing. Why are you doing it, aside from the fact that I'm telling you to write an assignment? Basically, you have three primary intents for writing. One is to narrate or tell a story that is expressive, it's individual. The second would be to inform. So writers of your textbooks, yes, those are people, they write to inform about a topic. And something like an op-ed piece, or perhaps something you put online, like on a blog, those could be persuasive. They're opinion-based, and those are persuasive. And each of these different purposes have then a genre attached, and then those genres use very specific devices and tools, and they're common to each genre that's being written. So for example, if I'm writing in the expressive genre or the narrative, let's think creative nonfiction, someone writing in this genre would use tools like metaphor and simile. They would incorporate setting, mood, character, action, climax, all of the things that are literary tools that writers of this specific genre would use, and also readers get accustomed to as well. Informative, if I'm writing a textbook, for example, then I might consider using tools like definition. So when you're reading through your book and you see a bold word, what follows that? That follows a definition, right? So the bold word says, hey, pay attention, here's the definition that follows. I might want to use tools like compare and contrast. So this is like something and it is dislike something, or cause and effect. All of these things can help to explain a topic. I'd also definitely want to incorporate expert testimony into an informative piece, because that lends weight and information to what I'm already telling you. Then persuasion. So let's say I'm writing an op-ed piece, which is opinion editorial for like a newspaper. In that case, I'm going to use tools like a belief statement. What do I believe? What's my opinion? What are the reasons for my belief? I might want to incorporate some counter argument, because I know I'm going to incorporate, or I'm going to encounter people who have opposing views. So I'm going to try to counter those views. And then as well, I would hopefully incorporate research and support to back up my beliefs. So all of those tools function within each specific genre. So genre is very specific. Modes and genre also play in with each other. So depending upon the type of composition you're writing, if it's written, it may be something for a newspaper, a book, a pamphlet, a billboard. Those have specific modalities that go along with each one of those as well. If it was visual, something for TV or movie or a documentary film, again, those modalities have their own rules and guidelines. And audio, think song lyrics, a lecture address, a speech. Again, all of those modalities play in as well. We say that genre can change, but genre has changes incorporated in it. So basically, depending on the type of genre that you're working within, you will possibly change the style, the design, the sources, and the audience. So for example, if I'm writing an informative piece, I may choose to have headers that break up the information. So it's not just a big list of information without breaking it up. So think of your textbook. You'll have headings, you'll have subheads, you'll have charts, you'll have graphs, you'll have all sorts of things that you might want to incorporate in the style and the design. Sources, for sure. If I'm writing that textbook, I'm going to incorporate other sources. And you'll see that in your own textbooks. At the end of each chapter, you'll have a list of sources incorporated, as well as I'd want to keep in mind my audience for that. So if it's a biology textbook written for fifth graders versus a biology textbook written for someone in a medical school, I would change the language based upon my audience. So our first major assignment will be expressive. It's going to be narration, where you're telling a story and you get to express yourself. So along those lines, I want you to consider, why do we as human beings tell stories, and what do they teach us? Well, certainly stories connect us. They connect people that maybe we would have never encountered before, but also stories can open up a whole new world that may never have even existed if it's fictitious. So it allows us to evolve, open up, and try to eventually understand each other. So when you are writing in the expressive or narrative style, these are some key tools that you're going to be asked to include in your first major writing assignment. So things like setting. So let's say you decide to write a story about when you broke your arm. Well, did you break your arm last month? Did you break your arm when you were 5? Did you break your arm when you were 10? How did it happen? Where did it happen? Where were you living at the time? Where physically did it happen? Was it at a playground, a park? Was it in the evening? Was it in the afternoon? All of these things lend to setting. So setting, place, time, year, like was it 10 years ago? What was the year? Was it just last week? What was the year for that? So tone and mood are also yours to decide to make your own. You can make it funny. So maybe it was a funny story and it led to you meeting a new friend or having a comical moment with a physician. Or maybe it was very serious and you had to go through rounds of surgery to correct it. So tone and mood are yours to create. Dialogue is also really important because dialogue brings a story to life. So essentially, if I just tell you a story and I never include actual dialogue from the characters that are involved in the story, it feels rather flat. So working to incorporate dialogue. So like when the break happened, what did you say? What did your friend say? What did your mom say? Those are all excellent examples of dialogue that can really bring the story to life. Sensory description and detail, we will be doing an exercise with that. But again, keep in mind there are 5 senses, taste, touch, smell, hear. Keep those in mind as you are writing. Think about, how did it sound when the bone break? Were you on the ground and in the park and it smelled like lilacs? Things like that. Narrative action and climax are tied together. You definitely want action to your story. You're not just telling something that doesn't have, hopefully, a peak to it. Of course, maybe the break is the peak in the action, so that would be considered the climax. And that's not always at the very beginning of the story. Oftentimes it's later or towards the middle or towards the end of the story. We would want to incorporate metaphor and simile. So simile is comparing two things using the words like or as. and metaphor is comparing two things without. So if I say the broken bone was like a cracked tree limb, I use the word like, so that's a simile. If I say the broken bone was a dead dog, that is a metaphor because I'm comparing two things, but I did not use the words like or as. Try to press yourself and do one of each at least in your story. And then finally, we want to try to have meaning and moral significance to the story. So hopefully out of all the stories that you could have told about your life, you have picked a story that has some significance to you and maybe to other people around you. Please make sure that there's some type of emphasis there and we understand why you're telling the story. You will be reading the assigned story 100 miles per hour, upside down and sideways. As you read the story, please make sure you locate some of those key components that we just discussed in the story. Things like setting, place, time, dialogue, sensory description, and detail. Really pay attention to those as you read the story, because this is kind of the basis of what you're striving to create. So enjoy reading 100 miles per hour, upside down and sideways.